Cars.com. I'm Kenny Hawkins along with Jesse Crawl. Just two of us
So
tonight.
lonely.
You know, obviously we talked last week. Michael Epps no longer with us. Week 5 of the high school football season is tomorrow night, Tennessee. Week 4 in Virginia. So let's preview our top games of the week, and we begin in Jonesboro. Tennessee taking on David Crockett. This is one of those games. It's been a tough week and a sad week for the Vikings. They lost a teammate, a classmate, and a friend in a drowning. I mean, how this team gathers the courage to play in a game is beyond me. But I was informed Tuesday that there would be a game on Friday. So let's take a look at Tennessee High. First of all, emotionally, how do you get up to play this game?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's one of those things where if you lose a teammate, that's tough. But having his brother on the team as well is super tough. And for those of you who don't know, which I'd be, probably a few of you, it's Levon Montgomery. Unfortunately, he was coming off his best game of his career, and Coach Chandler told me about that there's a memory that's going to last with him, and he wanted to do a flip because that's what he's known for on this team. He was known for doing flips on the team and, doing backflips, and he can do it, and obviously that's plenty of athleticism, which is incredible. But after his first win, Matt Chandler's first win, Micah wanted to do a backflip, and Coach said, hold up, just wait. I'm going to do my speech because whatever I say is definitely worse than what your backflip is, because your backflip is the pinnacle of this team. And, I mean, just be able to talk to Chandler for 10, 15 minutes at practice on Tuesday, I mean, you could just really get a sense that this team's hurting, but they also want to play football for Micah and his brother, Levon Montgomery, who's also a stud on that team as well. So, honestly, and there's no knock on David Crockett, but you're kind of cheering for Tennessee High to win this game. And, talking to Hayden Shanley as well on Tuesday, they were saying that, there's going to be a lot of emotion on Friday, which rightfully so. But I think there's a lot of people pulling for this Tennessee High team, and rightfully. Like I said, there's no knock on David Crockett. We're not trying to bring them down or anything like that. No. But I think this program is definitely in need of a win more than David Crockett is, to be honest with you.
I mean, let's talk about the football team itself. Obviously, they lost a key piece last year, and we've talked about it a number of times in Jaden Keller. He's gone now at Virginia Tech. But they still have the quarterback who's under center. He played in this game last year. Because this game went down to the wire last year before David Crockett was able to pull it out. And one of the reasons why is because under Johnson, Stephen, their quarterback, had a big game. Can he duplicate that again? Does he have the weapons? I guess what I'm asking you, does he have the weapons around him to have a big game again?
I think what we've seen with Stephen Johnson and a couple of quarterbacks from our area is that they continuously get better every single week. And with Stephen Johnson, he's got the right tools, not only for this team to be successful, but for himself to be successful. He's 6'4", 6'5" kid, about 200, 210, 215, that kind of range. This kid's got an arm on him too. I mean, he can let it rip as long as he possibly can go. I mean, 50, 60 yards. I mean, this kid, he's good. I mean, he's got an offer from Charlotte, and I was talking to him, and he's continuing to talking to other schools as well. So I think that's going to be one of those kids that we kind of got to keep an eye on as the year goes on. But, just kind of looking at my sheets, it's like I said, I brought up Levon Montgomery. He's also a pretty good person. I mean, 124 rushing yards, 47 receiving yards. We brought up Stephen Johnson. He's obviously amazing. But I think what this team needs to do, this Tennessee High team needs to do is, just come out quick. Just come out, because this David Crockett team, once teams start getting wearing down against David Crockett, they seem to kind of stumble and, fade in the distance. So with Tennessee High, you come out quick. I think you start airing it out early. I mean, you don't wait to run the ball, and then when you're down, start airing it out with a guy like Johnson. I think you start airing it out and go 50-50 right off the bat.
We had an opportunity to talk to the Tennessee High coach and football team, and obviously it's like we just mentioned, it has been an emotional week, and they talk about that, and they talk about the task at hand. Obviously, it's going to be about football once they blow the whistle on Friday night, and they talk about their upcoming opponent, David Crockett.
Coach Chanley, he grew up in that Daniel Boone system, learning from Jeremy Jenkins, who I have so much respect for him. And they just have always worked us to death in things like, we're going to get a lot of formations, we're going to get a tough physical football team. I think they're a team that always likes to be able to put it on you with running the ball, but you can never just totally pack the box against them because they can throw it too. So we know that we're going to face a well-coached football team with a lot of talent.
They're going to play hard. They got a good corner. I know they got a good linebacker, but I'm excited to show what we got.
For them to try run it down our throats, and if that don't work, then they're going to throw that long pass on us. I've seen some film that QB's got an arm. He can throw it. So I'm going to expect everything, really.
We're going to try to do some things to honor Micah still. There's going to be some pregame stuff that Crockett's going to do to honor him. Levon asked me today if he could change his jersey number to Micah's number, so we're going to keep his number on the field, and that's his brother wearing it. There's just a lot of things that we're going to try to make sure we remember and respect him as much as we possibly can. But all these guys that knew him and loved him real well, including us, know what a competitor Micah was, and Micah would want us to be out there trying to win a football game.
And just real quick, I mean, obviously that was Matt Chandler, the coach at Tennessee High, followed by Stephen Johnson, the quarterback we just talked about. And then Daniel Chap Delaney, he is a senior middle linebacker. Obviously, you know, you heard the coach talking that Micah will be remembered at this game against David Crockett on Friday night. In fact, David Crockett is going to have something before the contest as well to remember this young man by. Let's talk about this David Crockett team. This is a big game for them. I mean, obviously, they know they're going to come up against a team that is emotionally into this contest. But the thing about David Crockett is they have an opportunity to go 2-0 in the region, which will be big because I think they're the only ones that's played a regional game, conference game so far. So they have an opportunity to go 2-0 in the region. And when you watch this team, it seems as if each week they continue to get better and better. I mean, it was a big win last week over Moaz.
I know, and that's what I'm saying is that Hayden Shanley definitely knows. I mean, you just heard it right there. He's been in those systems before. He's been in those situations before where, you know, there's so much pressure on this football team. And I think we know Hayden Shanley as a coach and as a person that he lives and dies by football. And, I mean, that's just how he is. And that's no knock on his character or anything like that. But he absolutely loves it. And, you know, coming into a game where you can go 2-0 in the region, I mean, they're going to definitely take that and twice on Sundays. I mean, that's just how it is. And I think what this David Crockett team needs to do is they need to be able to execute downfield. I mean, that's just how this team is because we've seen it so many times before where, you know, they get close, so that, you know, they get on their side of the field or, you know, they get in the red zone and they're not able to punch it in. I mean, you've got guys like Brennan and Braden Reed. You got quarterback Jake Fox, who unfortunately was sacked 4 times last week, and that's the big thing too is that they have to up the production. Because if your quarterback's getting sacked 4 times, he's not going to have any room to run or throw for that matter.
Yep.
And on top of that, that's just putting pressure on the run game to be able to step it up, and that's just a bad recipe for disaster. So I think at the end of the day, this David Crockett team really needs to understand that. They need to get the ball downfield more, whether that's long runs or it's just airing it out, or they really just need to they need to execute when they're in that red zone.
And one of the other things is obviously their defensive backs are going to have to be ready.
100%.
We talked about Johnson being a pretty good quarterback who continues to grow each week and will have opportunities once his high school career is over. But he's a cat that likes to put it in the air. So the DBs, defensive backs for the Pioneers, are going to have to be ready in this contest. And it might be one of those games where it might be ball control when you take a look at Crockett. In other words, keep the Viking offense off the field as much as possible. And, you do that by running the ball, behind that offensive line. If you're getting sacked, if everybody's bringing the house, then hand it off and let them go right past them. Then, if you're going to go that route as well, as we mentioned, it's going to be a special night. At David Crockett. Not only are they going to remember Micah Montgomery, who passed away in the drowning, but also a colleague of ours here at News Channel 11, obviously before your time, but Tim Cable, who used to do play-by-play for the county schools. So he did it for Crockett and he did them for Daniel Boone. So supposedly we've been told that they're going to hang a banner for tomorrow night's game. This is Cable Country, which is the franchise that he did here. Tim, they're having his funeral tonight. In fact, I was there a little bit earlier, so they're going to remember Tim. So it's going to be a pretty sad night at the beginning of this contest, until the whistle is blown. Now, we had an opportunity to talk to the David Crockett Pioneers, and they understand going into this game. They know that Tennessee High is going to come in with a chip on their shoulder, and they're going to be more motivated, and they're going to have to match their motivation in this contest.
We expect them to, kind of rally the troops and, be fired up and play inspirational football. And anytime you play Tennessee High, you're going to get a well-coached football team, a very skilled and athletic team, physical up front. So we know that they're coming to Jonesboro to give us all they want, and we expect a battle on Friday night.
We got to come out hard. We just got to run down their throats. We got to play as hard as we can because I know they're going to play hard. And we got to do what we do and just keep going from there.
They had a loss. I feel for that community too. And I think they're going to play with the chip on their shoulder, and they're going to play real hard, play for him. They're going to play real hard.
Take care of the football, which we've done a pretty good job of this year. We've forced 9 turnovers and turned it over 7 times, so we're plus in the turnover category. We've got to win the turnover battle. We've got to be physical at the line of scrimmage. That's our goal each and every week, to be the most physical team. And then we just got to go out and execute. Line up correctly and play football, and we feel good about it.
So, of course, David Crockett understands exactly what's going to be going on as far as emotionally as they take on Tennessee High tomorrow night. We want to mention that was Hayden Chanley, also Dominic Hopper, and Brendan Reed as the three people that you just heard from. And let's say this, and it's good, and this is just how Northeast Tennessee is, or this area is, and just say Northeast Tennessee, Southwest Virginia as well. They pick up they pick up the next guy. I mean, they are there for their neighbors, and we just talked about that with David Crockett and what they plan on doing. 2 schools that are also doing something for Tennessee High and Micah Montgomery, or West Ridge and Dobbins Bennett, as we go into our second game, which is in the Model City, where Dobbins Bennett welcomes West Ridge, the Wolves at J. Fred Johnson Stadium. The Indians have been a surprise this season. They've started the year 4-0 atop Region 1 5A, but after each head coach, Joey Christian says, after each game, I should say, head coach Joey Christian continues to say, this team needs to get better. I don't care how big the win is. Joey keeps saying that this team needs to get better. They're coming off a big win, obviously, last week against David Crockett. And let me just mention, I think they're selling T-shirts saying, no, they're selling T-shirts as far as backing.
I thought you were talking about Joey Christian.
No.
All right, cool.
No. Even though that would be pretty good, we need to get better. But they're selling T-shirts, backing Tennessee High and for the Micah Montgomery family. But let's talk about Dobbins Bennett. I have to admit, I was one of those teams that was looking for a letdown, and they haven't shown it.
Not even close. I mean, I think we all are on that page. Honestly, I don't think any of us thought this team's going to do phenomenal things this year after the pieces they lost. And I think the reason why he says we have to get better, I think he doesn't want this team to get too big of a head. And I think Joey Christian does a really good job of that, no matter if he has the weapons like he did last year or kind of the moving company he has this year where everyone's kind of just chipping in. So I think for this team to be able to do what it did last week and get a 35-7 win over Crockett, it's truly incredible. And I think, like I just said, there's so many guys just chipping in, and it doesn't matter if it's in the passing game, the run game, the defense, special teams. It doesn't matter because everyone's just doing their job. Quarterback Jay Carson, he had 3 touchdowns, 184 yards. He did have 2 interceptions, though, and obviously they're going to have to cut down on those turnovers. I think they had 3 interceptions overall. Jonathan Gillespie, he's the top target as well. And Levi Evans is obviously a big part of that offense as well. Ishawn Graves and Caleb Barker in the backfield. Baker in the backfield. So it's just one of those teams where we saw Tyler Tesner last year. We saw Zane Whitson last year. Philip Armitage. We saw the guys that were those studs that were Player of the Week type nominees. I'm not saying these guys aren't Player of the Week type nominees. But you know what I'm talking about. 250 yards, 300 passing yards. They're not going to do that. They're going to kill you
like a team.
Exactly. That's what they're doing. They're playing like a team. And then that's, like I said, it's not trying to take away from what these guys have done all season. It's just amazing to see that this Dobbins Bennett team lost how many seniors and how many starters, and they're bouncing back like they didn't even miss a beat. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm really shocked at how, not shocked, but I'm amazed how well Carson has managed the offense.
100%, yep.
Said at the beginning of the season, Joey Christian, that it might be quarterback by committee, it might be running back by committee, but I think he might have found two guys that can hang on to that position. I mean, Carson has done a good job. And then you just mentioned Ishan Graves. Not a big guy, not a big cat now. All right, and let me tell you that, if I'm saying that, not a big guy. But he's fast.
Yep, that's all that matters. He's got it in his wheels.
It's hard to find him when he's coming through the line, and he's been special for Dobbins Bennett as well this year. We had a chance to talk to head coach Joey Christian about his team in this upcoming game with the neighbor West Ridge, and you got to remember, there's not much tape out on West Ridge because they didn't exist last year, and they haven't played too many games because COVID has gotten them once or twice.
That's difficult, especially us. We've played 4 games, they've played 2. That's kind of a hindrance for us. So we don't have a lot of data, a lot of tape to go off of. So, we're having to, obviously prepare for what we've seen, but we're having to chase a lot of ghosts too and prepare for things that we haven't seen, things that maybe they might do, things that we know that, the coaching staff has done at different times and stops where they've been.
I haven't really played in a big crowd, so I'm looking forward to it.
Everybody knows, it's homecoming. That always adds something as well. But with, with all the added that goes with homecoming, but like I said, with a school that's so close, it certainly adds something to the kids, and it should. They're excited, and it's going to be an exciting time in J. Fred tomorrow night.
And should I say that Ishan is also a man of few words, okay?
Short and sweet. That's all you do. Get to the point.
He allows his talent to do his talking on the football field. You hear Joey saying, we're going to be chasing ghosts, because they don't have much tape. And what he's going to have to do is, we'll go back and probably take a look, obviously, at Sullivan South and what they did last year since, that's where their coach came from. So that's probably what he looks at. Let's talk about West Ridge. I mean, we were all on board after that first win of the year against Volunteer, right? Yeah. And then they had a COVID situation, and then they ran into Science Hill, kind of ran into a buzzsaw, and kind of a surprise as we take a look at some action here against Volunteer at the beginning of the year. This is a talented team, and I think we have to be patient, right? It's only their first year. Yep. Maybe we should wait a little bit. Maybe towards the end of the year, the guys will continue to gel together.
And I think that's the big thing too. Is on tape and on paper, this 40-21 loss to Science Hill looks big. But it really wasn't that big of a blowout, honestly. I mean, they were battling with them for most of that game, and I think it was just a mistake here and a mistake there that really dug Westridge into that hole. And I bring it up because this Westridge team is littered with talent, like you brought up. I mean, quarterback Ethan Bergeron, that kid's a dual threat. I mean, he can air it out, but he's got a good set of wheels on him. And I think I read this right, if I remember correctly. The kid's 240 pounds.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I can maybe I'm wrong on that, but if that kid's about 6'4", 6'5", 240, that's a big boy.
Exactly.
So
right.
Hey, Christian was saying that we don't know what we're gonna watch on film. All right, I could tell you, I could help you out a little bit. I'm not gonna give away too much, but I think you just got to stop Ethan Bergeron, the man under center. I think that obviously that might be too much of an obvious statement right there. Stopping the quarterback, you do that with any team, I think they're going to lose. But I think especially with a guy like Ethan Bergeron that can burn you with your feet or his arm. I mean, you're seeing these in these highlights. I mean, the kid can let it fly, and he can run it as well. And he's got a couple of weapons with him. You got Austin Reiner, Cale Bryant. Those are a couple of big names for this squad. So I think this Justin Hilton team, and I know you know this better than anyone, is that he's got an experienced staff with a lot of experienced coaches and players. So this Westridge and Dobbins Bennett game, I think you look at the records. Yeah, I mean Dobbins Bennett obviously looks better on paper, but I don't think that's going to be the case this Friday. And I think Slater brought up a good point, and we don't know this. We don't, we're not running the ticket stubs over there at the stadium, but someone was asking that there's rumors that this game's already sold out. We don't know that.
Well, one thing we do know, we know for a fact that West Ridge, they travel.
Oh, they travel well.
They travel. I mean, listen, in that first game against Volunteer, I think they put over 5,000 for that contest around there. So they travel well. In fact, I was told that Daniel Boone was actually upset that they didn't get a chance to play their game because they were looking for a big gate. You know, COVID shut it down. And that's the reason why they're still hoping they get a chance to play during an open week, which this is going to be very small if that happens. But West Ridge does travel well. And we just showed video just a moment ago of Ethan. You can tell he's a big boy.
Yeah, he's got some size on him.
He's hard to bring. You know, no arm tackling. That's not going to happen. You know, you can't hit him high. That's not going to happen. You know, but he is definitely one that can bring the mail. And we had a chance to talk to Justin Hilton and some of the players about this big game against. Keep something in mind. It's very rare if they ever did, South, Central, or North ever beat Dobyns-Bennett. So maybe collectively,
they're getting ready then.
they're hoping that they get it done this time around.
Extremely well coached, play extremely hard. We know the atmosphere is going to be great when we get over there. Just really, really excited to go out and compete.
We're all ready to get out here and play another game of football. Just great off week to rest up and get ready for our next game.
They're very well coached. They have some good athletes. And the atmosphere they have in their football stadium with their fans is big and it's great, and we're really excited to be able to play them.
It'd be very special. You know, this is the first year at West Ridge. Get the first time playing each of these opponents, and I get to come out and just show everyone what we've been working on all summer.
It's obviously very special, you know, the first season. It's something that really means a lot to each and every person on this field. And I know that all three of those schools are in the past now, but now that we're together as one, I feel like we have a really good chance, and we're all really excited.
So once again, West Ridge looking for the upset tomorrow night against Dobyns-Bennett. You just heard from Justin Hilton, the head coach, followed by the quarterback Ethan Bergeron and Austin Reiner, West Ridge wide receiver. Sometimes that's hard to say. Game 3. We got two teams going in opposite directions. Mm-hmm. The Hampton Bulldogs have rolled on to an impressive 4-0 record, while Happy Valley has yet to win a game.
That's surprising. I really do. I mean,
yeah. Very surprised. I can't believe it came out of my mouth that they have yet to win a game. That's just not Happy Valley. But this is a big matchup. Let's take a look at Hampton. Mm-hmm. Once again, all cylinders rolling. Here's highlights from last year's game. Once again, they're led by their quarterback, Connor Jones, who does a little bit of everything, passes, runs, plays defense. You would think that the point of attack is to stop number 4.
I was going to say, just like West Ridge. You stop the quarterback, you stop this offense, and there's no knock on any other players on this squad. But for him to be able to do what he does in an offense that, you know, kind of, I'd say they lean more towards running, but, you know, obviously he can air it out as well. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen him, you know, he has that arm. If they're able to get out of trouble, I mean, he can zing it downfield, which obviously is great to watch. But he likes to rely on his legs as well, so he's got that dual threat mentality. But not only that, but this offense is littered with talent. I mean, we got Levi Lunsford, Brody Hicks, Ryan Crumley, and I think the scarier thing with this whole squad is they don't have Morgan Lyons. I mean, that kid was a stud last year, whether he was coming out of the backfield or he's lined up as a tight end. So, I mean, for them to be able to be undefeated right now and beat teams like Cloudland. I mean, they beat Cloudland 33-0 last week. Cloudland's one of those teams that they're not going to roll over, especially, you know, that gritty, grimy mentality that they have, and especially when they go up against Hampton. For them to be able to beat Hampton 33-0, or excuse me, for them to beat Cloudland 33-0, that's impressive. And like I said, it's all without one of their best targets, Morgan Lyons. So if he comes back from, I think he had like a broken ankle or something like that, or a certain leg injury. But if he's able to come back, this team's going to be rolling right now.
I think one of the things that we kind of overlook are the hog mollies, whatever you call them.
The hog mollies, the big boys up front. Hey, they got some size at Hampton. Lunsford, the boys got some size.
They do. And you have to, as much as they run the ball, and they're able to open up the holes like they do for Connor Jones and some of the other players that you mentioned. You have to be stout up front.
Oh, 100%. And, I mean, you've been out to those games and practices. I mean, you've seen that where it's there's sometimes where I go out to these schools and I go, I can't really tell which position groups. Nah. You go out to Hampton, I can guarantee you'll find the linemen pretty dang quick because these kids are big.
You know who got to the trough first.
Exactly, 100%.
Yeah.
And, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Lunsford's dad who's on the staff, Michael Lunsford. I don't know, is it senior and junior?
It's Mike, and then there's Michael.
Yeah, so Michael is obviously the head coach right now, but I think Mike is on that staff, if I'm not mistaken. I think he coaches the linemen, if I stand corrected. Now, if one of these guys is watching this show, please, next time I'm at practice, come up and correct me because, I don't want to be wrong. But they definitely get after it. I love watching their practice because they're definitely blue-collar mentality.
I always think it's funny because you say they call him Big Mike, and I told you he's really not that big. I don't know why they call him Big Mike. But they're taking on Happy Valley. This is a team that is looking for a win, and boy, if they had a chance to get it here, it would be a major upset on Friday night. As we just mentioned, it's not what we're used to. It's been a long time, and I dare say that they've gone through a season without ever winning a game. And I'm not saying that's going to happen. We still got a long way to go. But this is a Happy Valley team still searching for its identity. They lost a lot of players last year, including their star running back, who I like to call 007 Bond. But they need some guys. They need some guys to step up.
We saw with Dobbins Bennett. I mean, they had so much talent that they lost, but Dobbins Bennett was able to reload. I don't know, honestly, I can't tell you what's going on with this Happy Valley team. I've seen them play once against Chucky Doak, and they moved the ball pretty well, but it was just penalty here, fumble here, botch snap there. It was just shooting themselves in the foot, and obviously, if you're doing that every game, you're gonna go winless. I mean, that's just how it is in football, and that's any sport really. But for them to be able to, pick themselves up, really figure out who they are, like you just said, bring that identity out. I mean, Happy Valley always loves to run the ball. They always like to get work done in the trenches. And if they're able to do that against this Hampton team, not only that would it give them plenty of confidence going forward, but I really feel like, I'm not going to say obviously it would erase the 3 losses, but it would kind of,
It'd be big.
It would be, hey, we can turn the tide. If we can beat Hampton, we can beat anyone now for the rest of the season. So I think what Hampton really needs to do is they really need to stop the run, and I know that's easier said than done, especially with a team like Hampton. But they really struggled with that against Unicoi County. I mean, we saw the stat line from that Unicoi County game. It was just the run. It was the floodgates were open for the run, and Unicoi County was able to open up on that. So I think Happy Valley just really needs to get stout in the first 2 levels on the defense.
Once again, Hampton and Happy Valley, 2 teams going in opposite directions. Hampton right now on top of the mountain. They are unbeaten, while Happy Valley still searching for their first win of the season. Let's take a look at our final game number 4, as we head to Southwest Virginia. And we're talking about Marion taking on Gate City. And we're talking about a Gate City team that has played really tough. Still looking for their first win of the season. The Blue Devils with a loss to Richlands and then a close loss Saturday to Radford. Let's break down Gate City. It's one of those teams where you're close. You're close, but you just can't get over the hump.
That Radford game was good, and, we're seeing Union right here against Graham, but, it was one of those games where I was watching that, and I rolled up and, I was kind of getting involved with it, watching the game, shooting the highlights, and then I kind of finally looked at the scoreboard, which, I was kind of shocked a little bit because I'm like, Gate City is kind of controlling this game, and to be able to see them, hold their own against Radford, who's undefeated right now, and they're 3-0, so they're doing obviously a really good job this season, but for them to be able to only lose by 4 points to a Radford squad that is solid, I mean, you kind of got to hang your hat on. Obviously, you wanted to win that game, and Gate City, I think, had the lead late in the fourth quarter, in the middle of the fourth quarter. But, for them to be able to hold on that well, I think it's pretty good. And obviously, they have talent. I mean, you got Luke Bledsoe under center. He's a dual-threat quarterback, 62 rushing yards in that, or I should say that loss against Radford. He's able to air it out. Luke Stokes is a wide receiver that, has that speed and can get under the ball. Running back Carson Jenkins, he's obviously a great guy. And, they rushed the ball 47 times against Radford.
Yeah.
179 yards. So I think we know this identity of this team. Now it's going to be able to capitalize on the opportunities that they have, whether it's in the red zone or just breaking out those long plays.
And that's usually a typical Gate City team. I mean, they ground and pound. They keep the ball on the ground. I just think it's hard to, right now, find an identity for Gate City because they really played 2 really good teams. I mean, the Richlands and then obviously last week against Radford, which Radford's coach kind of knew a little bit about Gate City, Chris, who was up at Virginia High. So he knew what he was facing when he came in. He knew that it was going to be a tough game. So I don't know if we really know that much about this Gate City team. I just think that they're ready to bust out. Against who, I'm not sure. Maybe this week against Marion. Let's talk about the Canes. It's going to be a tough game. They come down to Gate City. I mean, this is a Marion team that has looked good at times this year and had their problems there in the all red. And this is the makings of a really good game. Marion too likes to keep the ball on the ground as well.
I was going to say, I think it's going to be one of those games where we're used to seeing a lot of gritty and grimy, tough players, winning that battle in the trenches, getting the hog mollies up front, getting all jacked up, being able to move the line of scrimmage, and that's what both these teams need to do, not just Marion or Gate City, but both of them need to do that. They are coming off a 36-14 win over Northwood. As you just mentioned, they love to run the ball. J.B. Carroll was their running back, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. Obviously, a great job by him. They only threw the ball 12 times. But their actual quarterback only threw it 8 times. So, but he was efficient. 5 of 8, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's pretty solid as well. And another great stat by them, not just on the offensive side, but defense, held Northwood to 132 total yards.
Wow.
And on one play, it was a long pass play, 83 of those yards. So essentially, I'm not a mathematician, but somewhere in the 50-yard range is where that is. Maybe a little bit under, maybe 49 or 48. But to be able to hold the team to 132 yards, any teams, it doesn't matter if it's in Virginia or Tennessee, no matter if they're undefeated or winless, you're gonna lose that game. Whoever they're holding the teams to. So if Gate City's able to come out, make some big plays, get the yardage racked up, that type of thing, obviously they're gonna win. But if Marion's able to hold on to the ball while also having a stubborn defense, that's a bad recipe for Gate City.
All right, folks, we hope we got you ready for football around the region this weekend. All of this Prep Football Preview, once again, brought to you by FriendshipCars.com. Make sure you watch us again every Thursday for the Prep Football Preview Show. Kind of got lost there looking at the week. I was trying to figure out what week it was. It is week 5.
You got NASCAR on your mind. You got football on your mind. It's all good.
Exactly. It is week 5 for Touchdown Friday night tomorrow. But obviously, you can check out the highlights of these games and much, much more on our show, Touchdown Friday night. Of course, we're going to have high school football, and, of course, you're going to be at the racetrack tomorrow at the Xfinity race.
It's always a busy weekend around this time. When they backed up for the playoff race, you're always like, come on.
This is one of those weekends. You got it right. Yep. So, all right, for Slater Teague, who's in here pushing the buttons, he's Jesse Krall. I'm Kenny Hawkins. Have a great night, everybody.